Hey guys, it's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics. Wanted to come to you live to talk about a report that just came out in The Guardian about the death penalty and about lethal injection. I think it's very fascinating, very disheartening, and I wanted to give you a bit of information beyond this article. I will link to it in the bio once I am done with this live broadcast. So, death penalty states, including Arkansas, which is the main focus of this article, are going to carry out double executions on Thursday, which is today, should the courts give the go-ahead as a part of an unprecedented week-long killing spree. They're stockpiling these vital drugs for lethal injections that could be used in tens of thousands of, according to The Guardian, potentially life-saving medical operations, a new study has found. The study looks at just 4 of America's 31 states that still adhere to capital punishment and finds that they are hoarding sufficient stashes of medicines to treat 11,257 patients in surgeries and other possibly life or death procedures for executions. Were the findings from Arkansas, Arizona, Mississippi, and Virginia extrapolated for the rest of the country, the number of operations could be supported by the drugs that would reach in the tens of thousands. Several of the medicines are officially in short supply, with hospitals finding it increasingly difficult to lay their hands on them. So basically, they are stockpiling these drugs for executions instead of life-saving procedures for hospitals and for other purposes, because the priorities in America are let's kill, 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 as opposed to let's save lives and actually help individuals when they're going through these severe medical problems. The public must realize, this is a quote by Dr. Joel Zivit, an anesthesiologist at Elon University in Georgia. The public must realize that when states take these vital drugs and repurpose them as poison and use them to kill, there are serious consequences. People don't appreciate that these drugs might one day be needed for their own medical treatment. One of the 4 states reviewed by the study, Arkansas, has embarked on a rapid-fire schedule of executions this month that has been decried as a conveyor belt of death. Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson initially planned 8 killings in 11 days, but after local and federal courts imposed stays in 3 of the cases, the state now intends to kill 5 inmates in a single week. Yeah, of course, because the courts were like, maybe that's a little bit too bloodthirsty for our taste. So why are they doing this? Arkansas's midazolam supply, which I will explain in a little bit, will expire at the end of April, and given the resistance of manufacturers to having the drugs used in executions, Arkansas will most likely face significant hurdles in trying to get restocks of this drug, midazolam. So what is midazolam? The triple cocktail deployed by Arkansas in its death protocol involves that drug, midazolam, which is a sedative, which is supposed to render the patient unconscious. Vecuronium bromide, that paralyzes the muscles, and potassium chloride that stops his heart. So that's the triple cocktail of death. Each of these drugs have critical uses in surgical settings. Midazolam relaxes patients before operations. Vecuronium is used to keep air passages open during surgery, and potassium chloride treats a common and potentially life-threatening form of electrolyte imbalance. All 3 of the drugs are listed by the World Health Organization as essential to meeting the minimum needs of any basic healthcare system. 2 of them, the latter 2, vecuronium, God, I'm terrible at pronouncing that, and potassium chloride have been officially classified by the pharmacist body ASHP as among those vital medicines that have fallen into short supply, while midazolam is recently hard to come by. So basically, when these drugs are not available to hospitals, that falls below the World Health Organization's threshold for meeting the minimum needs of any basic healthcare system. So instead of stocking our hospitals with those drugs, we are using them to kill individuals. These specific drugs were actually argued in front of the Supreme Court 2 years back. As was pointed out by Justice Kagan, in the case, potassium chloride has been likened to being burned alive. That sounds like cruel and unusual punishment to me. She asked the state whether it would be constitutional to burn someone at the stake after an anesthetic with debatable pain-killing properties. Maybe you won't feel it, maybe you will, she argued. We just can't tell. What is supposed to not make you feel it is the midazolam, which should be being used to save patients' lives, but it's really being used fairly ineffectively to kill the pain in these executions. And it is really not that effective as was discussed in this case. This case was an appeal brought by Thomas Arthur, who was found guilty in 1982 of shooting and killing his girlfriend's husband. Scheduled to be put to death in last November, he was granted a last-minute stay by the Supreme Court when justices considered his appeal. He requested to die by firing squad instead of lethal injection because he had heard all the terrible things about lethal injection. His lawyers argued that the Alabama lower courts were confused about how to interpret the 2015 Supreme Court decision in Glossop v. Oklahoma, which had upheld the constitutionality of midazolam and execution. So basically, that case was lost, and midazolam, that I was just discussing, midazolam is constitutional by the United States Supreme Court, but even inmates are saying, I hear it's really painful, I don't want to be executed with this drug because I would rather be executed by firing squad. In its interpretation of the ruling, Alabama's Department of Corrections said that inmates that didn't want to be killed with midazolam would have to clearly identify an alternative method, of course. Conservatives always make this argument, and put forward a detailed plan for utilizing it. The only two methods currently available to Alabama death row inmates are lethal injection and electrocution. So, what is Alabama really trying to hide here? Basically, they don't want to execute this man, or they do want to execute this man, but they want to do it in a way that doesn't offend their sensibilities. So, firing squad would be too barbaric, a guillotine would be too barbaric. But when we can paralyze you, and when we can put a little injection into you, where it may feel like you're on fire, it doesn't look that painful to us, so it doesn't offend our senses, so that's what we're going to allow to happen. And we can cover your head with a bag in an electric chair, but the firing squad, that's what they did in the 1700s. Come on, oh God, there's so much hair in my face. It's about what offends them, not what is actually barbaric and what is not for the inmate. It's not only cruel, the death penalty, because we pretend like lethal injection is painless when it really is not, as has been discovered, but it's a perpetuation of injustice in way too many cases. In a study released in 2014, the National Academy of Sciences reported that at least 4.1% of defendants sentenced to death in the U.S. are innocent. That's way too many. So we're killing innocent people. There's once a philosopher's quote, I believe, was it Thomas Paine? I don't know. But a legal philosopher that said it's better to let 100 guilty men go free than kill one innocent, or than sentence one innocent man. So now we're killing, if 4.1% of the defendants sentenced to death are innocent, we're killing those guys, those innocent individuals. Beyond that, the death penalty is racist. According to the ACLU, people of color accounted for a disproportionate 43% of total executions since 1976, and 55% of those who currently await execution. So it's not even getting better, it's getting worse. 55% of those who currently await execution are of people of color, as the ACLU puts it. While white victims account for approximately 1/2 of all murder victims, 80% of capital cases involve white victims, so there's a strong prejudice towards executing those who have purportedly killed white people. Furthermore, as of October 2002, 12 people have been executed. This part's a little older. 12 people have been executed where the defendant was white and the murder victim was black, compared with 178 black defendants executed for murders with white victims. So, look, it's racist. Sometimes we don't get the right people. And thirdly, the drugs that we are using to kill these individuals could be being used to save lives. But these bloodthirsty states are stockpiling them so that they can execute people in rapid fire. Is there something wrong with the priorities in America? I think so. And I think that these states, Arkansas especially, should take a long look in the mirror about what they are doing and what they are prioritizing. Their bloodlust over their constituents. Think about it. All right, guys. Have a good day.